अरिहंत सिद्ध सुर उपाध्याय साधु सर्व अर्थ के प्रकाशी मांगलिक उपकारी है। तीन को स्वरूप जानी रागते भई जो भक्ति काय को नमाए स्तुति को उच्चारी है। धन्य धन्य तुम्ही से काज सब आज भयो कर चोरी बारंबार वंदना हमारी है। मंगल कल्याण सुख ऐसो हम चाहते ओ मेरी ऐसी दशा जैसी तुम धारी है। ओ मेरी ऐसी दशा जैसी तुम धारी है। So welcome. Today we are going to start Tirag Vigyan part 3. So far we have done Balbodh 1, 2, 3 and then Vitrag Vigyan 1 and Vitrag Vigyan part 2. So this is the last of our syllabus, paper 3, Vitrag Vigyan 3. And many thanks. Most of you have submitted your concept clarity yesterday, but I thought up to yesterday evening there were no submission, not many submission, few were there already. So I thought because of some Moodle issue, so the other class has requested for 4-5 days more. So I said I should also give you 4-5 days more. So those who have completed, good. But those who are still pending, they should complete it in the next few days. Today and tomorrow you are having holiday. Even in Mumbai, Monday is also a holiday because of elections, and many other places in India there is election on Monday. But whatever it is, you complete it in the next 4-5 days and submit. So we have completed 3 things. Gandhar Mulyankan. If any of you is still pending, you just submit. Yesterday also somebody submitted. Okay, so Gandhar Mulyankan, then we had concept clarity 1. The topic was the 7 fundamental elements. And then in Vitrag Vigyan 2, paper 2, concept clarity paper 2, we had this 4 expositions. Now for concept clarity 3, I'll be giving you on Nischay Vyavhar, real point of view and conventional point of view, which is chapter number 8 in Vitrag Vigyan part 3. But today we are not going to do that because still I have extended the deadline for concept clarity 2. So we'll be doing that next week so that homework also starts from next week. So those who have not completed, we should complete in next 4-5 days and submit, and then we will do Nischay Vyavhar in next week's class, next Saturday. So today we'll be starting with chapter 3, active consciousness. I'll make you a co-host, no, Jia?
Hello, sir. Actually, I'm out of station, so I don't have my laptop or anything downloaded right now.
Who else I can make a co-host who can share the textbook? I've already sent a PDF to them a few minutes ago only. You can share the textbook, Roshni. Samyak.
Sir, I can try sharing my phone.
Okay. So I'm just making you a co-host. Let's see if you can do it.
Sir, I can share if you want.
Okay, so fine. Soumya will do. I made you a co-host. Hope it is the right Soumya.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay, so chapter 3 is operative consciousness. In Hindi, we call it as Upyog. Upyog's literal meaning is use, but in this context, it is not used in that way. You know, every moment we are knowing something or the other. Janna, janna, janna. Every moment, prati samay, you know, this janna, janna goes on and on. And this basically belongs to uh, knowledge attribute, right? Janna, janna comes out of knowledge attribute. So this janna, janna is the active consciousness. Okay. So this janna, janna that we experience every moment, like laptop jana, mobile jana, you know, textbook jana. So jana, 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 that common part is your active consciousness or operative consciousness. Here it is written as operative consciousness, but the more appropriate word would be active consciousness. Now, when we say consciousness, basically consciousness means chetna. So again, there are two attributes included in that consciousness. One is knowledge and the other one is perception. So of course, before knowledge, perception is always there. There cannot be any knowledge without perception. Okay. So first, there will be perception. In perceptions, you know the object, but you are not clear what it is. You know, there is something, right? After perception, knowledge follows. And in knowledge, you can see it more appropriately, correctly, like that this is laptop, this is mobile. Earlier, you were just only knowing the, just its mere existence, that there is something. But in knowledge, you have a clarity that it's mobile phone. And so this is how our knowing process goes on. So initially we have perception, then we have sensory knowledge, then we have scriptural knowledge, and like this only the knowing process goes like this. Okay. In between, there are few steps that we will learn later on, not now. But simple thing, uh, consciousness, active consciousness or operative consciousness is something we do every moment, janna, 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 right? So what jana is immaterial, but jana, janna, janna is from, is called the active consciousness or operative consciousness. Now, before we start the chapter, there is an introduction of Acharya Uma Swami, which we have already covered in Vitrag Vigyan 1, chapter 3, 7 fundamentals. You all are aware because you have done a concept clarity on that. So I am skipping the introduction. Only thing about Acharya Uma Swami is that he was the principal disciple of Acharya Kunkundev, and he wrote Tatvat Sutra. That is the only available uh, his creation that we have, and through that creation he had become very famous, and it has got a very high everyone has got a very high regard for Acharya Uma Swami. There has been long commentaries written on this textbook Tatvat Sutra, like Sarvat Siddhi by Acharya Pujyapat Swami, then Tatvarth Rajvartik by Bhatta Akalank, and then Slok Vartik by Acharya Vidyanandi, and there is Tatvarth Sar by Acharya Amrit Chandra Dev, and then there is Swami Samantbhadra's Gandhasti Mahabhashya, but it is not available right now. So these are some of the commentaries that has been written on Tatvat Sutra, and it's a very famous textbook. So we already studied 7 fundamentals from it in Vitrag Vigyan 1, part 1, chapter 3. So now I'm not going very deep into the introduction. I'm coming on to the chapter, operative consciousness. Now this is a conversation between two brothers. Their names are Darshan and Gyan. Darshan Lal and Gyan Chand. Now Darshan means perception, to see, and Gyan means knowledge or sentience. Okay, it is also called sentience, but an appropriate word would be knowledge. Okay, so the conversation between the two brothers is going on, and that's how the chapter has been written about. And we'll first read the chapter, and then I'll explain you. So we begin with Pratibhaji. I've received your concept clarity. Some of you, today only I checked my WhatsApp.
Uh-huh.
I may not have replied to individually to all, but I have received whatever you have said.
Thank you. Thank you for letting me know.
First part.
Oh, operative consciousness. Brother Gyanchand, I don't understand from where Father has chosen our names. Gyanchand, don't you know that both these names are meaningful from the religious point of view? The nature of our soul is all consciousness and perception, Gyan and Darshan. Moksha Shastra says operative consciousness is the nature of the soul. The activities of consciousness and perception are called their operation. Then Darshan Lal, is it like that? To me, this name appears to be strange. Gyanchan, you are correct, brother. As long as we do not know and hear things, they appear like that. Kunt Kunt Swami writes. This being has heard, talks about sensual pleasures and passions, many a time has acquired acquaintance with these and experienced them. As such, they appear to be easy, but has neither heard anything about the soul till today, nor developed acquaintance with it. Therefore, it appears to be strange to him. Darshanlal, Brother Gyanchand, please explain this operative consciousness more clearly so that I may understand the mystery of my name. Gyanchand, all right, here, inclination of the soul connected with life force are called operative consciousness, that is, sentience and perception. These are found in all living beings and are not found in other substances. As such, these are the essential characteristic of the soul, which is recognized thereby. There are two important parts thereof, perception and sentience. Darshan Lal, please explain the difference between perception and sentience. Gyanchand, that which gives a common impression, formless image, is called perception, and that which differentiates between the self and the non self and gets detailed impression is sentience.
Stop.
Darshanlal, is consciousness of
Stop.
all
Stop.
living beings alike?
Stop. Yeah. Let me just go through the definitions first. Let me explain the definitions first, and then we will go forward. Okay. So you can see that operative consciousness is the nature of the soul. So we always say Gyata Drashta, Janna Dekhna Mera Kaam, these are some of the very famous lines of uh, stutis. Okay. So that means that the primary function of the soul is just to see and know. So to see is perception and to know is knowledge or consciousness, or it is also called sentience. Okay, sentience is also gyan, knowledge is also gyan, and consciousness is also gyan. So different words have been used for knowledge, but it means all the same. So consciousness is the distinctive characteristic of the soul. So if you want to identify the soul, everyone wants to identify the soul, everyone wants to realize himself. So for that, he needs to know the characteristics by which the soul is expressed. So this characteristic is the consciousness. Consciousness is the distinctive characteristics. Distinctive by means that we can differentiate from other substances the soul through his distinctive characteristic. Okay. So this janna, knowledge, gyan. Okay. This happens every moment. Even when we are sleeping, our janna goes on. You see some dreams in your sleep, How come you know about the dream? Because of janna is happening every moment. Okay. Even when we were in Nigod, one-sensed being, this janna was still continuing. If this janna would have stopped, then we would have become jad or animate. Okay. Animate or inanimate? I'm confused. Let me see the dictionary. Jad is animate or inanimate? I think it is inanimate. Inanimate. Jad means inanimate, right? So, when we were in the Nigod state, one sensed being, and even when we were in Narak, hell, okay, there also this active consciousness was still there. It was still operative, okay. So it never stops, okay. So this never stops. If this stops for a moment, we will become inanimate, which never happens. The soul is there since eternal, and this janna is also there since eternal. And this janna is nothing but the active consciousness or upyog. Okay. So this consciousness is the distinctive characteristics of the soul. So soul can be identified through this janna. Okay. So every moment, what is your function? Janna. And before janna, what happens? Perception. Dekhna, janna. Gyata, drashta. So drashta, gyata. So perception is just to see, and consciousness or knowledge is to know. So the nature of our soul is all consciousness and perception, jnana and darshan. The activities of consciousness and perception are called their operation. Okay, so this is operative consciousness. Then they have given a reference from Samay Sarji Granth by Kunkund Acharya Dev, Gatha number 4. The commentary on Gatha number 4, it's written there, this being has heard talks of sensual pleasures and passions many a time. It's not written here, but it was also there in that particular commentary, has acquired acquaintance with these and experienced them. And not only experience them, they also recommend each other that go to that hotel. There's very good food available, very tasty food. Go and see this movie. It's such a good movie. So we recommended to our friends, relatives, about the sensual pleasures. So this is all very common that everyone knows about sensual pleasures and passions because we talk about this many a time. We have acquired acquaintance with these many a time, and we have also experienced it, and we have also recommended it to others. So it is quite clear that these things are easily comprehensible to each and everyone. But as such, they appear to be easy, but has neither heard anything about the soul till today, nor developed acquaintance with it. Therefore, it appears to be strange to him. So this line came from this conversation that to me these names appears to be strange. Then Gyanchand says, you are correct, brother. As long as we do not know about, and hear things, they appear strange to us. So now, because of our sanskar that we were born in a Jain family, and with this access of this kind of knowledge, we are now quite familiar with this terminology that uh, we have this quality of knowledge and perception with us, and that is the fundamental nature of our soul. Okay, so the things like sensual pleasures and passions are easy to comprehend and easy to know and easy to experience because we have been doing this since times immortal. But uh, about this active consciousness or any qualities of the soul, we have never heard about those things. We have never developed acquaintance with it, and we have never followed those people who were in the path of liberation. So therefore, it appears to be strange to us initially. But as we move along and as we know new principles and concepts, we feel that it's quite uh, comprehensible, it is quite easy to understand, and this is what is going to matter in our life. I may have knowledge of uh, biology, or I may be a doctor, very great big doctor, but I may be a very big engineer, software engineer. I may be Elon Musk or Bill Gates, something like that. Warren Buffett. I may be a stock market icon. But if I don't know about the nature of the soul, then my transmigration will not stop. And this is an opportunity that we have got in this human life, and we have got access to these true gods, true scriptures, and true monks, that we are able to comprehend these terminologies and the knowledge, how the soul operates, So the soul operates through its two distinct qualities, perception and sentience. Okay. So initially it is perception and then the knowledge follows. Inclination of the soul connected with life force are called operative consciousness, that is sentience and perceptions. These are found in all living beings and are not found in any other substances. Okay, so the word any is missing here in the textbook. If you are having a physical copy, you can just put an inverted apostrophe there and write this word. It is not found in any other substance because it is the distinctive characteristics of the soul. So only soul can be known through this. Only soul possesses this active consciousness. No other substance has this quality of consciousness. As such, these are the essential characteristics of the soul which is recognized thereby. There are two important parts thereof: perception, power to see, and sentience, power to know. Darshan Lal, please explain the difference between perception and sentience. That which gives a common impression, general impression, formless image. Formless image means you cannot identify what it is. You know, so many a times you must have seen in the movie that there are two characters talking, and when character number A talks, the cameraman focuses that person, and other person's image becomes a little bit hazy, and then the other person when talks, person B, then the person A becomes hazy. You must have observed about in cinemas, movies. This is what the photographers do. Here also, in laptop also, like in Zoom, you have this option to spotlight, and something like that. So we are, uh, so that which gives a common impression. Okay, formless image. Okay, formless image of the objects is called perception. So by only perception, we cannot identify the object. We cannot know that object. So this is called perception consciousness, only a common impression. Now, when we know it in detail, oh, this is a mobile phone. This is from Samsung company. This is from Nokia. Okay. So now we know it in detail, then it becomes a knowledge. And that which differentiates between the self and the non-self substances and gets detailed impressions is sentience or knowledge or consciousness. All these words are used. So now you know that initially it is perception and then it's knowledge. So when we know something very clearly, that means it is knowledge. And before that, there is always this perception, because knowledge cannot be done directly. Before that, there is always perception is always there. This is the way how our operative consciousness operates. Okay, active consciousness operates. So up to this we had studied. Now going ahead, is consciousness of all living beings alike? Hemali, you read now.
Okay, sir. Is consciousness of all living beings alike? Gyanchand. Yes, from the point of view of inherent potentiality, all have the same consciousness. However, from the point of present development consciousness is of 8 kinds. Number 1, sensory knowledge. Second, scriptural knowledge. Third, clairvoyance. Fourth, telepathy. Fifth, omniscience. Sixth, perverted sensory knowledge. Seventh, perverted scriptural knowledge. And the last one, perverted clairvoyance. Darshan Lal, what do you mean by sensory and scriptural and other knowledge? Gyanchand, discarding the tendency of depending on others, the knowledge of objects in a general manner is called sensory knowledge or knowledge with senses and mind, as its indifferent causes is called sensory knowledge. The consciousness that knows other objects in connection with objects known with the help of sensory knowledge is called scriptural knowledge. The direct and crystal clear knowledge of material objects with limitations of matter, place, time, and mode without the help of senses and mind is called clairvoyance.
But stop. So we have covered 3 types of knowledge: sensory knowledge, scriptural knowledge, and clairvoyance. Let's understand these 3, then we will move ahead. Okay. So is consciousness of all living beings alike? Yes, from the point of view of inherent potentiality. Means inherent potentiality means underlying strength, Shakti, Shakti Apeksha, all have the same type of consciousness. Okay. Even Siddh Parmeshti or the Arihant Parmeshti, they are also having the same potential and we are also having the same potential. Okay. So from the point of view of potential, we are all same. Okay. However, from the point of view of present development, consciousness is of 8 kinds. Okay. Now these are the 8 names given: sensory knowledge, scriptural knowledge, clairvoyance, telepathy, omniscience. So sensory knowledge is Mati Gyan, scriptural knowledge is Srut Gyan, clairvoyance is Avdi Gyan, telepathy is Mana Paryay Gyan, and omniscience is Keval Gyan. Then we have 3 others: perverted sensory knowledge, Kumati Gyan. Then we have perverted scriptural knowledge, Kushurut Gyan, and perverted clairvoyance, that is Ku Avdi Gyan. So all in all total, we have this 8 types of knowledge. Out of 8, 5 are right knowledge and 3 are wrong knowledge. Okay. Kumati, Kusut, Kuavdi, perverted sensory knowledge, perverted scriptural knowledge, and perverted clairvoyance. These 3 are wrong knowledge. Okay. And the other 5 are part of right knowledge. Now my question, what kind of knowledge out of these 8 we are having right now? Hemali, you only answer.
So I think all 8.
Huh?
All 8, sir.
All 8. All 8 in terms of what?
So,
So if you are looking at inherent potentiality, then it is
yes,
okay.
sir.
Right? That is true. But from
Yes, sir.
present development, our present ability from that point of view, like, do you have clairvoyance knowledge now?
No, sir.
Don't have. Mana Paryay Gyan also we don't have. Okay.
Yeah.
And omniscience also we don't have. So we can have perverted sensory knowledge, perverted scriptural knowledge, or sensory knowledge and scriptural knowledge. Either we have wrong sensory and
Right.
scriptural, or we have right. These 2 are the options that we have. Okay. Now, before knowing that what do we have, we should understand what is this sensory knowledge, what is this scriptural knowledge. Okay. Discarding the tendency of depending on others. Now, what do you mean by that? Discarding the tendency of depending on others. The knowledge of objects in a general manner is called sensory knowledge. Okay. So, discarding the tendency of depending on others, that means पराश्रय की बुद्धि छोड़कर, ओके, पराश्रय की बुद्धि छोड़कर दर्शन उपयोग पूर्वक, okay, the knowledge of objects in a general manner, common impression. Okay, so initially we have this common impression and then we have this detailed impression. Okay. So, discarding the tendency of depending on others, the knowledge of objects in a general manner is called sensory knowledge. This is one of the definitions of sensory knowledge. पराश्रय की बुद्धि छोड़कर दर्शन उपयोग पूर्वक सस्वन्मुक्ता से प्रकट होने वाले निज आत्मा के ज्ञान को मति ज्ञान कहते हैं. Okay. So this is one of the definition. The other definition, or knowledge with senses and mind. Okay. The knowledge that we get through the senses and mind. 5 इंद्रियां और मन, अथवा इंद्रिया और मन है निमित्त जिसमें, ओके, knowledge with senses and mind as its indifferent causes. Okay, indifferent causes means nimit. So, is called sensory knowledge. Right? So, this is the first definition of the sensory knowledge. Two types of definitions are there. One is the discarding the tendency of depending on others. The knowledge of objects or the knowledge of the self in a general manner is called sensory knowledge. And the second one is knowledge with senses and mind. Now, my question is, like, we see objects through our eyes. So, do eyes have a knowledge? How it is? You just stretch your mind. Yeah, Hemali.
Sir, okay.
Subhangji, you say.
Sir, eyes does not have knowledge. It's the soul, the our consciousness that the information we receive through eyes
Oh,
that we acknowledge.
good, good. So this eyes, ear, tongue, nose, and what else? The
Skin.
skin, right? These are the mediums. These are the mediums through which we acquire the knowledge. But the knowledge comes from the soul itself. There is no knowledge in this sensory, in this senses, because somebody dies and the body is still there. Nose is there, eyes is there, but he cannot know. He cannot hear. Why? Because the soul has gone. So we can logically prove that it is the knowledge that is coming from the soul, and these five are only a medium of knowing. Okay. So these five senses act as an indifferent causes, nimit. Okay. And of course, the mind, which is we call man. Okay. So through this, when there is the process of knowing, we call it sensory knowledge. Okay. So sensory knowledge, the name itself is sensory knowledge. So the knowledge through five senses and mind. But just remember that this senses and mind doesn't have knowledge. It is the soul that has the knowledge. Only these five senses and mind acts as an indifferent cause, instrumental cause. Okay. Nimit. This is only a nimit. Okay. But the main knowledge is acquired. The main knowledge or the storehouse is our soul. Okay. So it is the soul which knows these things through the five senses. So this is about sensory knowledge. Now, we are coming to the definition of scriptural knowledge. The consciousness that knows other objects in connection with objects known with the help of sensory knowledge is called scriptural knowledge. Okay. So the consciousness that knows other objects. Now this consciousness is what? Now this type of consciousness is sensory knowledge. Okay. And through that objects, he knows other objects, and then it is called scriptural knowledge. So initially we have this perception, then we have sensory knowledge, and then if we go further deep, the scriptural knowledge appears. Okay. The consciousness that knows other objects in connection with the objects known with the help of sensory knowledge. So you have known some objects through sensory knowledge. Now you go deep further into it. Then it becomes scriptural knowledge. Okay. So now you know the whole knowing process. It begins with perception, common impression. Then we have a detailed impression. Okay. And in that detailed impressions, it's called the sensory knowledge. And then we have this scriptural knowledge. Based on those objects, we know other objects, and that knowing is called scriptural knowledge. So all the viewpoints, nay, नई श्रुत ज्ञान में ही लगते हैं. Okay. Nai means the viewpoint. Okay. From a particular viewpoint, we know the object. Now, example, if I take an example, we take this example of ring of a gold. Okay. So initially we see something, then it is perception. Then we identify it, oh, this is the ring. Okay. Then it is a sensory knowledge. Now moving further, oh, this is made of pure gold. This is yellow in color. And this has got so much weight. This has got so much purity. All these are scriptural knowledge. Okay. So now you know the knowing process. First, there is a common impression, then there is a detailed impression, and then there is sensory knowledge, and then we have scriptural knowledge. Clear everything so far? Do you have any doubts? You can ask questions right now. I think everyone is clear. Now we move on to
Sir,
the.
I have a question.
Pardon?
Yes, sir, it is about the two definitions of Mati Gyan itself, the sensory knowledge. The first definition says that discarding the tendency of depending on others, the knowledge of objects in a general manner is called sensory. But in Hindi, it's written, पराश्रय की बुद्धि छोड़कर दर्शनोपयोग पूर्वक स्व सन्मुखता से प्रकट होने वाला निज आत्मा का ज्ञान मति ज्ञान है. But the second definition says that it should be through mind and senses only.
Right.
So these two seem to be contradictory to each other. The first says that without the help of mind and body, whatever knowledge the self has of the self or other objects is sensory knowledge. The second definition takes help of the nimitta, that it should be through mind and senses only.
So why do have these two definitions have been adapted from two different books? Okay. So in the first definition, it is about the, Samyak Mati Gyan. Now we have Kumati Gyan. Okay. So that Kumati Gyan also is through senses, right? So to give the first definition only says that Nij Atma Ka Gyan. Okay. Which is not mentioned in English. I think in the English translation, it is just that knowing the objects in a general manner. Okay. So here it is written in English as in a general manner, and here it is written Nij Atma Gyan, the knowledge of the soul, the knowledge of the self. Okay. So then it is a sensory knowledge. Now the second definition says knowledge with senses and mind adds its indifferent causes. Okay, is also called sensory knowledge. So just because the first one is a very deeper version of the sensory knowledge, and the second one is just a common version, through senses and mind, whatever you know through senses and mind is called Mati Gyan. Now, when we go further deep into this Mati Gyan, there are 5 parts to this Mati Gyan, memory, smriti, pratyabhigyan, connecting knowledge, then smriti, pratyabhigyan, tark, logic. Then we have anuman, and then we have agam. So these are the 5 parts. Out of 5, 4 are part of sensory knowledge, and agam is a part of scriptural knowledge. So this is the way. And before this memory or smriti, there are again 4 stages: avgaha, iha, avai, dharana. Okay. So we will learn about all these in the Tattvarth Sutra, part 1. Okay, chapter 1. But here we limit to this, the common definitions that we have. Okay. So let's only understand this, that whatever we know through senses and mind is sensory knowledge, and knowing those objects the objects known through sensory knowledge, if we go further deep and know other objects, then it becomes a scriptural knowledge. Okay. This both the definitions are taken from adapted from different books having different perspectives, and that is the challenge we have, that whatever we have put in terms of books, we adapted some definitions from this scripture, some from this scriptures, but both are having contradictions that we don't comprehend, and that's why the confusion happens. So when we say something from one perspective, we should understand from that perspective. Okay. So anyway, the first definition is basically knowing your soul, and the second definition is relating to knowing other objects. Okay. In the second definition, they didn't mention that knowing the soul, because soul cannot be known through senses. Okay. Senses only see those objects which has got, which we can see through eyes. Murtik Pradarth only we can know through this. Amurtik Pradarth can be a part of mind, because mind knows corporeal and incorporeal, both kind of objects, mind. But senses only knows corporeal objects. So now we move on to the third one, the clairvoyance. Now, if we want to know our soul, we have this Mati and Srut with us right now. Okay. If it is, it may be Kumati Kusrut, or it may be Sumati and Susrut. It is immaterial, but what we have right now is Mati Srut. Okay. Now this clairvoyance. Who are having this clairvoyance knowledge? The hellish being, Narki, and the heavenly beings, Dev. Narki and Dev have compulsory this clairvoyance knowledge. But through this clairvoyance knowledge, we know objects like matter only. Our soul cannot be known through this clairvoyance knowledge. Okay. The direct and crystal clear knowledge of the material objects. Only you know material objects with limitations of matter, place, time, and mode. Dravya, Kshetra, Kal, and Bhav. Without the help of senses and mind is called clairvoyance. So we have one division called direct knowledge and indirect knowledge. So this sensory knowledge and scriptural knowledge is indirect knowledge, and this clairvoyance and telepathy and omniscience, these are direct knowledge. Okay. So here it is written, the direct and crystal clear knowledge of material objects. But the problem is that this clairvoyance knows only material objects. Our soul is not material, so it cannot know the soul. We cannot know the soul through this clairvoyance knowledge. Some of the monks do have clairvoyance knowledge. Only some, not every monk have this clairvoyance knowledge. So, but primarily it is with the hellish being and the heavenly beings. They do have this clairvoyance knowledge, and through this clairvoyance knowledge, they can make out that in our previous birth, this particular soul inflicted pain on us, so let's take revenge. So this way they keep on fighting with each other in the hellish beings. For not a single moment they are able to relax, and that is also one state of existence, uh, that is called hell, hellish being or infernal beings. Okay. With limitations of matter, place, time, and mode. So it is not unlimited. It has got limitation of Dravya, Kshetra, Kal, and Bhav without the help of senses and mind. So there is no role of senses and mind in that because it's a direct knowledge. It is directly coming from the soul space points. Okay. डायरेक्ट आत्मा के प्रदेशों से जानना होता है. This is clairvoyance. Now we move on to the next types, the telepathy, the omniscience, and of course the perverted sensory, perverted scriptural, and perverted clairvoyance. These are left. So let's complete this part. Shubhangi ji, you read only.
Sir, hello, sir. I'm still not too clear about clairvoyance. Can you explain it again?
Clairvoyance is again a kind of knowledge. So there are 5 kinds of knowledge. We already have studied about sensory and scriptural that we are having. Now this clairvoyance is the knowledge that the hellish being, Narki, and the heavenly beings have. Okay. So uh, so that means that is so that's why we don't know about much about this. But few of the monks also do have this clairvoyance, but very few have. So we are not discussing about this. Now this clairvoyance knowledge through this, it's a direct knowledge through the space points of soul that we know objects directly. So this is a direct knowledge. The sensory and scriptural knowledge are indirect knowledge. Okay. So the direct and crystal clear knowledge of what? Material objects with limitations of matter, dravya, place, kshetra. So it is not that sitting here, the knowledge of the whole universe. Then it's a omniscience knowledge. You have some limitations of some. Now, in case of Narki also, they know to some extent, like their previous 700 births, because the soul is eternal. So it has taken innumerable, infinite births, right? But he doesn't remember about everything. He has got a limited knowledge of, say, previous 700 births, previous 100 births, or immediately previous birth. These are the limitations. Okay. So these limitations are in terms of matter, place, time, and mode without the help of senses and mind. So now you know that the sensory knowledge is through senses and mind, and we have this sensory knowledge. And of course, the subhuman state, Tiryanj Gati, these people are also having this sensory knowledge, But there are few one sense being, there are two sense being, there are three sense being. So if it's a one sense being, it only knows about touch. Okay. If it is a two sense being, then it knows touch and taste. If it is a three sense being, it knows touch, taste, and smell. If it is a four sensed being, it knows about touch, taste, smell, and eyes. Okay. And if it is a five sensed being, then it is touch, taste, smell, eyes, and ear. These are five sensed beings. And then in five sense being, there are two categories. One, five sense being is having mind, and one is not having mind. Okay. So we are right now five sensed being with mind. Every human being is a five sensed being with mind. But in subhuman state, Tiryan's Gati, like toad, toad, medak. These are five sense being, but there are both kinds. Some toads have mind and some doesn't have mind. Even in the case of a snake, it is again a five sense being, but some of the snakes have mind and some of the snakes doesn't have mind. So these are some of the exceptions are there, but the clairvoyance knowledge is the direct knowledge. It's coming directly from the soul without the help of senses and mind. And that's why it's a direct knowledge, but it knows only material object with limitations of matter, place, time, and mode. Whereas sensory knowledge is a indirect knowledge. It is through the help of senses and mind, and it can know the soul also. Okay. It
Sir,
can.
I have a doubt.
Mhm.
When our Tirthankar knew that they have a previous life and they were in the Mahavir Bhagwan story.
Okay.
So he knew Lord Mahavir know how that he had a enemy from the past life,
Right.
and he's fighting and fighting from past so many lives. So
Right.
that knowledge that he had, we can consider it as clairvoyance,
Uh, yeah.
irrespective of the mode of time.
So, clairvoyance knowledge as a human being, because since Mahavir Bhagwan was a Tirthankar, so
It's omniscience,
so
no, sir?
they have these three knowledges when they took birth. And the moment they become a monk, they have this telepathy also. Okay. So telepathy, we are coming on to that knowledge now. Telepathy is something that only a monk have, and that also spiritual minded, enlightened monk, those who have samyak darshan, those who have realized themselves, they only can have this telepathy. But that is only related to, we can relate this to only a monk. Ordinary beings cannot have this telepathy knowledge. Okay. Mana Parya Gyan. So a Tirthankar, when he takes birth, he has already got three knowledges: Mati, Srut, and Avdi. We read these Parsvanath stories, and his Nana was doing a havan with fire. And in that havan, there was this Nag and
A
Nagi.
snake.
Yeah, snake, right? And they were half burnt. And how that young boy knew about this, that there is a snake there, through his Avdi Gyan, because he had got clairvoyance knowledge. Through that clairvoyance knowledge, he knew that there was a snake, male snake and female snake, and they removed those things, and they were half burnt. They were in a state of half burnt, and that Kumar Parswanath uh, uttered Namokar mantra there, and they died peacefully, and then they become Dharnendra and Padmavati. In They took birth in heavenly being because of uh, hearing the Namokar mantra at the time of their death. They got an auspicious birth in heavenly being, and when there was pain inflicted on Parswanath by Samvar Dev, and because of their previous enmity, right? At that point of time, Dharmendra and Padmavati had this inclination to help Parswanath. But Parswanath was a Tirthankar, so how can an heavenly being protect a Tirthankar? So, but they did have this uh, inclination to help out Parswanath. Yeah, Himali.
So, just from what Shubhangi asked earlier, so what Mahavir Bhagwan had was omniscience, and what
No, that
Dharmendra
omniscience was later on, no? Initially, when he took birth, because he was a Tirthankar, so he had this three knowledges right from the birth: sensory knowledge, scriptural knowledge, and clairvoyance. These three were from the birth. And same was with Parsvanath, because he was also a Tirthankar. But the omniscience knowledge only develops when he attains monkhood, then he meditates, and then he uh, takes that shreni, and when he achieves 13th stage of spiritual development, at that point the omniscience knowledge manifests. It is not something he was having from birth. Okay. So when he becomes a monk, he has this Manaparya Gyan, and this Manaparya Gyan, what you know of through Manaparya Gyan, the telepathy knowledge, that we are coming on to this. Spiritual minded monks, without the help of senses and mind, no material objects, thoughts of or located in the minds of others. So through this telepathy, you know material objects and thoughts located in the minds of others. Now, if is a Manaparyay Gyani, you know, a monk, a Bhavlingi Sant has this Manaparyay Gyan, and if you go to him, he can make out what you are thinking. So, through this telepathy, he knows what are your questions and he just simply gives the answers. And people are surprised that how he knows that I have the question in mind. And particularly those people who are not Jains, you know, they get influenced by this Manaparyay Gyan and then they follow Jainism. And so this kind of telepathy knowledge also becomes a means through spreading Jainism, you know. So this telepathy, only difference between telepathy and clairvoyance is that telepathy is only a enlightened monk is having telepathy, and through this telepathy they can know the thoughts of other people. But again, it's material objects only that they know. They cannot know soul through this telepathy. Even through clairvoyance, they only know about material objects only. So now a particular soul is having samyak darshan or mithya darshan that can be known through clairvoyance knowledge, because clairvoyance knowledge knows material objects, and this mithyatva or delusion is again karm prakriti. So karm prakriti is again a material object. So through this karm prakriti, he can make out that this particular jeev is a mithya drashti or a samyak drashti, just because he will know through his clairvoyance knowledge the karma materials, whether he is having this delusion or not. So again, you know only material objects through clairvoyance. You know material objects through telepathy also. So this both kind of knowledge, clairvoyance and telepathy, is not useful when you want to know the soul. Okay. So to know the soul, you should have Mati Shrut Gyan only. So spiritual minded monks, without the help of senses and mind, because this is a direct knowledge, so there is no help of senses and mind, no material objects or thoughts located in the minds of others, subject to limitations of matter, place, time, and mode. Matter,
Sir,
place, time, and mode.
sir,
Yeah.
I have a question.
Yeah.
An ant or an elephant, they have mati gyan, shrut gyan, right? So can they attain liberation when, or I mean, can they be born as humans and then attain liberation?
Which one? Elephant.
Elephant or ant or any Tyrian.
No, they are not human being, no?
Right. So, but they do have
can
mati
realize
gyan.
themselves. They are five sensed with mind. So they have this ability to go up to fifth stage of spiritual development.
Okay.
So they can have right faith. That is the fourth stage, and further they can have up to fifth stage also.
Okay.
But beyond fifth stage, a subhuman being cannot go. Beyond fifth stage, a woman cannot go, although he is a human being. But that is the limitation of that particular things. Even an Arjika also cannot go beyond fifth stage. But a male human can go up to seventh stage right now. Okay. So these are some of the limitations. But a male monk, okay, monk is always a male. A monk, human monk, cannot go beyond seventh stage. That is again a limitation right now, because we are in the fifth era. If we would have been in the fourth era, we could have gone beyond seventh stage. We could have also achieved omniscience knowledge. We could have got liberated if we were in fourth era. So what we can do best right now is we can acquire Samyak Darshan, right faith, right belief, and we can also reach up to 5th stage if we are in staying in home, okay? But if we become a monk, we can also attain 6th and 7th stage, okay? And those people will be there in the 6th and 7th stage till the end of this 5th era. Okay. So there will be a monk, Bhaulingi Muniraj, there will be an Arjika, there will be a Shravak, and there will be a Shravika at the end of the 5th stage. One monk, one Arjika, one Shravak, and one Shravika. Chaturvid Sangh, 4 people. Okay. And when the 5th stage era will come to an end, these 4 people will be there in the end, and they will uh, resort to upvas, fasting. They will do fasting for 3 days, and then they all will die, and then the end of 5th stage, 5th era, sorry, the end of 5th era, and then 6th era will start. There will be no religion at that point of time. There will be no Jainism. Jainism will last only up to the 5th era. And this we are into now the beginning of the 5th era, the first 3000 years. There will be 64 souls who will take birth in Mahavidya in their next birth, and they will get liberated. In the next birth itself, they will get liberated. Only 64 people in the first 3000 years, they will get liberated in the next birth. Then in the next 3000 years, the figure will be reduced to 38. Then in the next 3000 years, the figure will be reduced to 12. Then in the next 3000 years, it will be 8, 4, 2, and 1. So 3, 3, 3, 3, 7 times 21,000 years is this 5th era. Okay. So we are now in a very better position. If you work hard, if you put in efforts in the right direction, you can still get liberated from next birth. If not next birth, then 3, 4 births at max, because the efforts that you put in is going to bring you these fruits, So we will be enjoying right now also, and in future we will get liberated very soon. Now that very soon could be maximum 15 births. In terms of time, it could be maximum Adpudgal Paravartan. If you manifest right belief right now, and that we can easily do it. It's just that your understanding should be according to the scriptures written by our Tirthankars and the Muniraj. Everything is written in the scriptures. You just understand it one by one, all the principles and the doctrines as are mentioned in our tenets, and you can become an enlightened soul. It's easy. We can do it right now. It takes only a moment to just uh, transform your active consciousness from 5 sensory objects towards your soul. And one, this active consciousness, which is engaged in sensual pleasures from time immortal, if you are able to comprehend this knowledge, understand this knowledge, and that your active consciousness will move from there towards your soul. And when it moves towards your soul, it becomes one with the soul. And that is the stage of self-realization, So it is so simple. Every one of us can do this, provided we understand these concepts clearly. And this is one of the attempt that we are doing by having this systematic knowledge, right from Balbodh to Samaisar. Over a period of 5 years, you will be busy with this kind of knowledge, but you have to put in extra effort because you have your family to manage, you have your job to manage, you have your kids to manage. And in spite of that, if you take out your time and do this study, only 2 hours a week, and you have this advantage. If you don't understand anything, you can always ask, you can have clarity about it. Okay. And on weekends, you can study a bit wherever you find time, 10 minutes, 15 minutes. You know, you can always connect to this knowledge, scriptural knowledge, and you can know your nature, how the soul operates, what are its functions, what are its limitations, what it can comprehend, what it cannot comprehend, and where is happiness. These are all some of the questions that you have to answer yourself by with the help of the uh, principles that we will learn here. Okay, and you can manifest right knowledge. There is nothing. It's not a rocket science that we cannot do as a layman. We can always do. So even the subhuman people are able to do it. Even Narki are able to do it. You know, hellish beings also can achieve right faith in spite of so much of uh, turbulence in their life over there. You know, we are not having even 1% of that right now. Even if you are in the midst of a very strong, I would say, a strong kind of storm, you know, in your life, you know, your close one dying, or you are having a terminally ill disease, you know, cancer, something like that, and doctor says that you have 6 months to live. In spite of that, you can still manifest right knowledge. And because those narky, there is so much of pain there every moment, you know, that we are not, nobody is able to explain it through these words. There is a limitation to words to explain their sorrow, but still they are capable of manifesting right knowledge, right belief in the midst of those things. And we have all the advantages here as a human being. We are having access to the scriptural knowledge. We are having more or less all, we are very, you know, we can say that we have enough money that we don't have to put in much efforts, you know, we are knowledgeable. So you are all having a very good knowledge. You are doing a good job. You are having a good family. You have your home. So all the advantages are there. And we have to just put in little bit of extra efforts to know these principles. And we are through this right belief. So this, you know, telepathy. Now coming on to the omniscience, everyone knows omniscience. Omniscience is the perfect, super sensitive, direct and clear knowledge. Direct and clear knowledge in which all substances are known together at once as they really exist, with their infinite attributes and modifications of all the three vast measures of time. So you know the past, you know the present, you know the future, everything simultaneously in one moment. That is the capacity or the manifestation of our knowledge attribute, you know. So these are the 5 types of knowledges: sensory, scriptural, clairvoyance, telepathy, and omniscience. The last 3 are direct knowledge because they are knowing through the soul's space points, directly from the soul's space points without the help of 5 senses and mind. And the first 2 are indirect knowledge because they only know through the help of 5 senses and mind. And those 5 senses and mind acts as a instrumental cause. And but there is again an advantage in that indirect knowledge, that soul can be known through this knowledge only, not through clairvoyance and telepathy. Of course, omniscience knows everything, souls and the other objects all put together at once. So this is the 5 about the 5 right knowledge. Now 3 wrong knowledges. Perverted knowledge. Okay. Kumati, Kusruth, and Ku Avdi. Is perverted knowledge also included in consciousness? Persons having wrong faith. Okay. So this is the first condition. So if you have a wrong faith, you have perverted sensory knowledge, you have perverted scriptural knowledge, you have perverted clairvoyance. Okay. that clairvoyance is not with everyone, but as I said, this hellish being and heavenly beings do have this clairvoyance compulsorily. Okay. So persons having wrong faith do not understand the nature of their souls. They are not able to identify their soul, the true nature of their soul. Their sensory and scriptural knowledge and clairvoyance are called perverted sensory knowledge, perverted scriptural knowledge, and perverted clairvoyance. Because having wrong faith in the fundamentals, fundamental elements, 7 fundamental elements. So that's why I've given you in concept clarity 1, 7 fundamentals. You know it very deeply, okay? And that settles your right faith, you know. You can have right faith by knowing the 7 fundamentals as they are. Having wrong faith in the 7 fundamentals, their consciousness is false, even when their worldly knowledge is correct. He may be a brilliant doctor or an engineer, software engineer, but that is worldly knowledge is correct. But 7 fundamentals, he is not having clarity. So he is not having right sensory knowledge. He is having false sensory knowledge or perverted sensory knowledge. Since they do not have knowledge of the elements, all their consciousness is perverted. Okay, so this is all about the knowledge. Now there are 4 kind of perceptions. Ocular perceptions, one that occurs through eyes. So when we know something through our eyes are of course instrumental cause, but when we know through those eyes, it is called ocular perception. So perception, you know only a general impression, common impression. Then non-ocular perception is something we know through other senses than eyes. So through touch, taste, smell, and ear, plus the mind. These are all non-ocular perception. So apart from eyes, the other 4 senses and the mind, when we know through the medium of these 4 senses and mind, it is called non-ocular perception. Then we have clairvoyant perception. So before the clairvoyance knowledge, we have this clairvoyant perception. And then we have omniscient perception. So omniscient perception and omniscient knowledge, they are happening simultaneously. There is no time gap. But in the other 3, initially it is perception and then knowledge. Okay. So omniscient perception precedes the omniscient knowledge. Okay. And these both it does not precede, it happens simultaneously with omniscient knowledge. So you can see the definitions here. Ocular perception means seeing with eyes. What is non-ocular perception? It is not like that. The ordinary awareness of existence, which is experienced with the eyes, is ocular perception. So when we see through eyes, it is actually the knowledge. It is not the perception. Okay. But the ordinary awareness, general impression of existence, which is experienced with the eyes, is ocular perception. And the non-ocular perception is the ordinary awareness with the help of the mind and the rest of the 4 senses except the eyes. And what about clairvoyance perception? Likewise, the perception of the objects which occurs just before the clairvoyance knowledge. Okay. So clairvoyance knowledge के पहले जो होता है, that is clairvoyant perception, is called clairvoyant perception. But there is some speciality in omniscient perception. What is that? The direct perception of the whole cosmos which occurs together with omniscience knowledge. Okay. So this happens simultaneously together. The direct perception of the whole cosmos which occur together with omniscience is called omniscient perception. There is no gap of time in omniscient perception and omniscient consciousness. Thank you, very well explained. So this is exception, okay? So this is all. Now you know active consciousness, how it operates, what is the process, and who are having what kind of knowledges, okay? So these are some of the facts that you know. We will study deeply into this in our, I think, fourth sem. Third sem or fourth sem, you have Tattvad Sutra. And in that Tattvad Sutra, in the first chapter, we will go deep into this sensory knowledge and the scriptural knowledge. Okay. Of course, the main part of scriptural knowledge is the viewpoint that we are going to study next week. So you will have a slight idea about this next week. Any questions on this chapter? So we still have close to 40 minutes. So
Sir, I have made an example. If it is correct, then uh, a person in a room smells something. So the sense that he's smelling something is the sensory knowledge. Then he identify it as a flower. It has he identifies its colors and everything. So that is the scriptural knowledge, because it is already in his mind what is the difference between what.
right.
The third, the person is a monk, and the monk get to know that in his past life he had some knowledge about the same thing.
Right.
That is clairvoyant.
Yes, yes. Good, good. Very good.
Good. And then he get to know about when telepathy is when you know about someone else's mind or someone else soul, not soul, I guess.
So telepathy is only with the enlightened monks, spiritual minded monks. That is the first condition about telepathy. But it
Okay.
also knows material objects. Clairvoyance also knows material objects. So that's all.
Okay.
Good
So
thinking. You can think so much just reading this chapter. It's good that you can connect this so much. Anyone else having any questions or any clarifications they want to clear about this chapter? Otherwise, we'll move on to the fourth chapter. This is about delusion. Very important chapter. Because of delusion only, we are wandering from one species to another species. And our primary objective is to get rid of this delusion in this birth. You know, even it takes whole birth to get rid of delusions. We will not mind, because once it goes, you are onto the path of liberation. And when you are onto the path of liberation, you are not going to take much time to get liberated. You know, at least you know now that you're, yeah, ask Himali.
Sorry, so it's about this chapter. So I wanted to ask you, everywhere we are saying knowledge of material objects.
Not
So, but
everywhere, only for
like
clairvoyance
in
and
clairvoyance and
telepathy.
telepathy.
Right.
Yes, sir. So, sir, for instance, let's assume somebody wakes up and says that, somewhere in the world there's been a plane crash.
Okay.
So that is an incident, no? And actually, a plane crash has happened, say in Japan or
Ah,
somewhere. So, sir, is this clairvoyance knowledge?
could be, could be. For clairvoyance knowledge, I don't know the exact but generally I have heard that right now in this fifth era and this time, nobody has clairvoyance knowledge. So it could be some element of his past, past connections. He might, there are people who remembers of their previous birth, there have been instances, I was there and I was murdered and all. So we don't know the truth about those things, but there I have heard about this many a times. In newspaper also it comes, and like uh, in the life, there was one person called Osho, Rajneesh,
Yeah.
and people were telling that he had this knowledge about past lives. Even Srimad Rajchandra had this knowledge from past life. He was a disciple of Mahavir. He was the last disciple of Mahavir. And even Ben Sri Ben is also having this kind of clairvoyance knowledge. But this is all Jati Smaran Gyan. And this Jati Smaran Gyan is it's all about, it's a part of sensory knowledge. It's an extension of sensory knowledge only. It's not clairvoyance knowledge. Okay. So these are some of the special things that we know. So, but we leave it to that. There is no authenticity. Nobody can prove those authenticity, whether I was there in that birth or not, and whatever the description. So it hardly matters whether I was there or not. I was somewhere, I know, right? So it hardly matters whether I was there or here or I was in Nigod. What difference does it matters? Because as a soul, I know that nothing has touched me. I'm still pure. I had infinite attributes at that time, and it's still I'm having infinite attributes. And even if I'm getting liberated tomorrow, I will still have infinite attributes. So it doesn't make a difference. As a soul, we don't get carried away by those chamatkars. you know, there is no point in wasting time after those kind of facts. Yeah. मधु जी आप पूछिए क्या
So,
पूछिए?
yeah. So, what is intuition then? Can I ask?
So these are all part of sensory knowledge only. The Jati Smaran Gyan. And recently there was a Svetambar monk. He can remember, I think, 1,000 things at a time. There was an experiment here in Mumbai only. Few
Yes,
days,
yes, we heard it.
maybe not more than 15 days. So earlier there was an experiment where he remembered 100 things at simultaneously. And this time he had experimented and he is having 1,000 things. There is somebody called Suhani Sa, YouTuber, Suhani Sa, and he can make out exact figures what you are thinking in your mind. So all these are part of sensory knowledge. It's nothing chamatkar. You can also develop those qualities. You have to practice those things. So there is nothing surprising about those knowledges. Even if it is Jati Smaran, even if it is Satavdhan or Shat thousand Avdhan or nothing. So when Simaji also had this knowledge of remembering 100 things simultaneously, and he was very famous for that. In fact, people were coming to him just because he could remember. He had this special kind of memory. But when he realized that this is not useful in the path of liberation or in spiritualism, he left those practices. He said, I don't want fame. I just want to know my soul. And he was having that disease of tuberculosis, and he died at the age of 34, very small age. But from birth only, he had a great memory. At the age of 7, he used to remember so many things, And still we have some highly intelligent kids who can remember those things. So there is nothing extraordinary or surprising about those things. We have done in our life, in the past life, many a times this kind of things. Now the primary objective is to know the soul. So if you know the soul, you are a special person because you have booked your seat for liberation. You will get liberated in a few births. But if you are not able to manifest this right belief, then your life is waste. Okay? Because we are having this human life, we are having a birth in a Jain family, we are having access to this true God, true Shastras, and true Guru. And our interest is also developed into understanding this. So we have come so far, nobody can be more luckier than us. I can just, you can just make out even Tata, Birla, Ambani, these are very rich people like Elon Musk or Bill Gates, but they don't have access this right knowledge, right shastras, and we are so lucky that by putting few little bit of efforts, as you will see over a period of 5 years, you will know new concepts, and this will all complement to your quest for self-realization. These are all going to help you out, each and every principles. So we are all in a very lucky space, and we should make full utilization of our good luck and manifest Samyak Darshan. Okay. So you should be serious about all the things that are being taught here, and you have to understand it properly. If you have any doubts, you can ask me right now. If you have any doubts later on when you are studying as in your home also as a homework, then also you can ask. There is no limitation to that. I have enough time for uh, people who have, who want to understand more. But in class, I have limitations of time, so I don't go very deep into this. Okay, so we'll move on to the next chapter, chapter number 4, delusion. Adopted and inherited wrong faith. So adopted could be a good word, would be inborn delusion. Wrong faith is delusion, mithyatva. So grahit mithyatva and agrahit mithyatva. Okay. Adopted is inborn delusion. No, sorry. Adopted, inherited wrong faith is inborn delusion, and adopted wrong faith is acquired delusion. Okay. So inherited and adopted. So inherited is from birth only, so it is called inborn delusion, and adopted is something that we have adopted in this life, so it is called acquired delusion. Okay. So important topic. This has been adapted from Chedala by Pandit Daulat Ramji, and we had studied about the life of Pandit Daulat Ramji in Vitrag Vigyan 1, chapter 1, Dev Stuti, and in Vitrag Vigyan 2, chapter 3, errors regarding 7 fundamentals. So you know quite well the life of Pandit Daulat Ramji. So we would not repeat that. Only thing is that the Chedala is very famous by Pandit Daulat Ramji, and of course he has written Daulat Vilas, and it's about devotional verses. And apart from that, only 2 creations, Chedala and Daulat Vilas. So this again has been adapted from second dhal of Chedala. So we are going to study about Chedala in the third Sem. Okay. So complete Chedala we will be studying in third Sem. So, but still we are understanding this about wrong faith from this scripture. So we'll move directly the conversation between the teacher and the student. So we will read 1 minute. Labdi Vora.
Yes, sir. Jai Jirendra.
Yeah, Jaidam, read from the beginning. Adopted and inherited wrong faith.
Adopted and inherited wrong faiths. Student whose life has been described in the Chaidala. Teacher, it is a life story of all living creatures. It relates the story of the roamings of this soul in this vast universe. This soul of ours has been wandering in all the 4 phases of life, but it never attains happiness. This has been shown in the first dhal. Student, what is this? Why is this soul wandering in this world and why is it unhappy? Teacher, this question has been answered in the second dhal. This soul, thus wandering in the world, has been facing the miseries of births and deaths on account of wrong faith, wrong knowledge, and wrong conduct. Student, what are these wrong faith, wrong knowledge, and wrong conduct due to which this being is unhappy? Teacher, perverted faith of the seven elements, including the soul, is false belief or wrong faith. You have studied the attributes of animate and inanimate objects and other elements to regard these essential elements as different from their real nature is perverted faith. Student, since when are we in the grips of this wrong faith? Teacher, this is since time eternal. But we have been supporting this with external activities. This is of two kinds, inherited wrong faith and adopted wrong faith. Student, kindly explain this. Teacher, the feeling of oneness that living beings have with their bodies and attachment towards external objects since time eternal is inherited wrong faith and perverted beliefs that we have developed being influenced by unreal gods, scriptures, and monks, it is adopted wrong faith. Student, there must be inherited and adopted non conscious also. Teacher, yes, it is just like that. Ignorance of.
Stop.
Yeah.
So let's first understand the faith only, and then we will move on to the knowledge and the conduct. Okay. So wrong faith, wrong knowledge, and wrong conduct is the chief cause of our not attaining happiness. It is the chief cause of our transmigration. And we have been transmigrating from time immortal. There is no beginning, Soul is eternal. The wrong faith is also eternal. And because of wrong faith, knowledge is also wrong and conduct is also wrong. So in Chardala, in the first Dal, it's the story of all the souls who are in the fourth state of existence, what kind of miseries they are undergoing through, whether they are in subhuman state, whether they are in hell, whether they are in heaven, or whether they are in human life. They all have some kind of sorrows in their life, and that has been very well explained in the first chapter of the first Dal. Then in the second Dal, why they are suffering from these miseries, that answer has been given in the second Dal, and the answer is because of wrong faith, wrong knowledge, and wrong conduct. People have been wandering in the world and taking birth in one species to another species to another species, just like a football. The ball goes from one player to another player to another player. This way, we have also been wandering from species to species since time immortals and have been facing miseries of births and deaths on account of wrong faith, wrong knowledge, and wrong conduct. So our primary objective would be to get rid of this wrong faith, because once you develop right faith, the knowledge also becomes right and the conduct also becomes right. But before that, with wrong faith, you have wrong knowledge and wrong conduct. So the leader is the faith attribute. Okay. And which karma is related to that? Can anyone answer? We have done that chapter of karmas, right?
Darshan Mohanya.
Yeah. And in English, what we call it? Faith deluding karma.
Yes.
Faith deluding karma. Okay. So it is darshan moh, but the general bracket would be monia karma. Okay. So monia karma, and again monia karmas are of two types. One is darshan monia, other is charitra monia. Darshan monia is faith deluding karma, and charitra monia is conduct deluding karma. So now you know all the names. So because of this, we are suffering from in the four realm of existence from time immortal. So this is the reason. So in the third dal, then how can we get rid of wrong faith, wrong knowledge, and wrong conduct? How can we get rid of this? That has been answered in the third dhal. But first we need to understand how we are into wrong faith. And if we understand that clearly, then of course we will find a solution to that. Okay. So initially we are discussing wrong faith, and then we will move on to the wrong knowledge and then wrong conduct. So what is this wrong faith? So as said, these are of two kinds. One is inherited wrong faith. Inherited is inborn, right from the birth, that is coming from our previous births. And the second one is adopted wrong faith. This is something that we have acquired in this birth, okay, newly acquired in this birth, and it is also called acquired delusion. So instead of faith, delusion would be a good word. So inborn delusion, acquired delusion, these are the two words that we will be using. But here it is written inherited wrong faith and adopted wrong faith. That is also okay. So we don't mind. So what is this wrong faith? Inherited wrong faith and adopted wrong faith. Both we will know. In terms of knowledge also, we will know what is adopted wrong knowledge, what is inherited wrong knowledge, and conduct also likewise. So the feeling of oneness that living beings have with their bodies. So our immediate oneness is with our body. You know, even when I was growing up, I never knew that soul and body are different because I was not connected to religion at all. But I came to know when I was 30. At the age of 30, I came to know that soul and body are different and I am the soul. You know, that I didn't have experience, but I have that knowledge at that point of time. So when the first time I I heard about this, I was surprised that how it can be. The whole life I was believing that I am the body. I am good looking, I am bad looking, I am tall, I am short, I am good at talking, I am not good at talking. Everything, whatever I related myself with, was with body only. So it is the immediate nearest, I can say, that we have this attachment with this. The feeling of oneness that living beings have with their bodies and attachments towards external objects. Okay, this attachment is rag and other things. Rag, dvesh, kashai. So attachments, aversions, delusions, passions, and vibhav, all kinds of vibhav and vikalp, all put together in one category. The feeling of oneness that living beings have with their bodies and attachments and etc. towards external objects, since time eternal, is inherited wrong faith. So this is inherited. We have been having this oneness with other things right from our previous time eternal. Okay. There is no beginning to that. It is time eternal. Is inherited wrong faith. And the perverted belief or the wrong belief that we have developed being influenced by unreal gods, Ku-Guru, Ku-Dev, Ku-Shastra and Ku-Guru. Okay. So influenced by unreal gods, that is Ku-Dev, unreal scriptures, that is Ku-Shastra, and unreal monks, that is Ku-Guru, is adopted wrong faith. So when we get it in touch with this unreal gods, unreal scriptures, and unreal monks, we newly acquire delusion or the adopted wrong faith. Okay. So I think now you are clear what is inherited wrong faith and what is adopted wrong faith. Inherited, it is all our past lives that we have accumulated, and that is from time eternal. And the adopted one is the newly acquired in this birth, with the when we got in touch with unreal gods, unreal scriptures, and unreal bonds. Now, how is this in terms of knowledge? Okay, so who will read? HOH. Who is this HOH? You read.
Sir, that's my sister.
Uh, whose sister?
So my sister.
Okay, okay. She's also a student, or she's just listening?
Sir, she's been attending all your courses on YouTube.
Okay.
I've been asking her to join at some point.
Yeah. You will really enjoy it. Anyways,
Yes, sir.
your choice. You just read, no problem. What's your name?
Hello, sir. Sonali.
Sonali. Okay, you read. No.
Rajnendra, sir.
Yeah, we are all part of family. So don't think that Himali is a student, you are not a student. It's not like that. Everyone wants to learn about this. So there is no
Yes.
as such. You just read, no problem.
Yes, sir. Okay. Student, there must be inherited and adopted non-consciousness also. Teacher, yes, it is just like that. Ignorance of living creatures regarding the 7 elements from time immemorial is inherited wrong knowledge, and adopted wrong knowledge is to study the false scriptures wherein attachments and other passions have been regarded as desirable and to regard their teachings as correct. Student, shall we understand wrong conduct also likewise? Teacher, yes, of course. Indulgence of ignorant creatures in several activities is inherited wrong conduct, and the external conduct which is observed for the sake of fame and good name is adopted wrong conduct. External activities that are devoid of faith and knowledge of the animate and inanimate beings are all of no avail. It has been said, the activities of the body, including those that inflict physical pain, performed with a view to fame, profit, or respect, and that are without the knowledge of soul and non soul beings, all lead to the weakening of the physical structure only. Student, why are all the activities of the ignorant irreligious? If they are good, they should be called religious. Teacher, Pandit Daulat Ramji replies thus: to accept this psychic violence arising out of the feelings of attachments and aversions that rise in the soul, and the material violence of killing or causing pain to moving or stationary beings as religion is wrong faith. Entities having faith in these are unhappy. Student, what is the remedy of saving oneself from these? Teacher, we can protect ourselves from adopted wrong faith by understanding the real nature of the God, the scriptures, and the monks, and from inherited wrong faith by true knowledge of the essential 7 elements, and thus obtaining inner experience of the soul. Student, then please explain the nature of all these. Teacher, some other time.
Okay, good. So, what is wrong knowledge? So, we will be discussing it from 2 viewpoints. One is from the inherited point, and the one is the newly acquired or adapted one. Okay. So, what is wrong knowledge from the inherited point of view? Our wrong knowledge about the 7 fundamentals. Okay. Ignorance of living creatures regarding the 7 elements from time immemorial is inherited wrong knowledge. And then what is adopted wrong knowledge? The false scriptures, wherein attachments and other passions have been regarded as desirable. And to regard their teachings as correct is wrong knowledge. So wrong knowledge would be scriptures, false scriptures, and wrong knowledge in terms of inheritance would be the our wrong belief in the 7 fundamentals of elements. Okay, 7 fundamental elements. So this is wrong knowledge. Okay, so since our faith was wrong, the knowledge also became wrong. And now coming on to the conduct. So indulgence of ignorant creatures in several activities, okay, that is 5 sensory objects. Indulgence in 5 sensory objects by the ignorant creatures is inherited wrong conduct. Okay. And the external conduct which is observed for the sake of fame and good name is adopted wrong conduct. So with the intent of getting appreciated, we do some activities just because we want to get appreciated for the sake of fame and good name is all adopted wrong conduct. So when we talk of conduct, it is always activity of the mind, body, and speech. Okay. So external activities that are devoid of right faith and knowledge of the animate and inanimate beings. Animate is Jeev and inanimate is Ajeev. Okay. Are all of no avail. Okay. So first we need to develop right faith and right knowledge. Then your conduct makes sense. Without knowing the right faith and right knowledge, all your conduct falls into the category of wrong conduct. It has been said the activities of the body, including those that inflict physical pain, performed with a view to gaining fame, profit, or respect, and that are without the knowledge of soul and non-soul beings, all lead to the weakening of the physical structure only. So you must have seen that in Svetambar sect, there are small, even small people, small kids, they are also taking dikshas. They are getting initiated into monkhood. No, they don't know about the 7 fundamentals and they don't know how they will develop right faith. So all those activities without wrong faith and without right faith and right knowledge is all of no use. So if you don't put 1 before 0, it is all 0 only. Even if it is 10, 0, it is still 0. But if you put 1 before that, then it makes sense. Similarly, with right faith and right knowledge, if you adapt to right conduct, it makes sense. But if you don't have the right faith and right knowledge, and you go very high on conduct, you become a monk, then also there is no sense. It's wasting of your time. And you are not ready to believe also that you have wrong faith. You only believe that because of my conduct, I am a monk. So the activity of the body, including those that inflict physical pain, performed with a view to gaining fame, profit, or respect, and that are without the knowledge of soul and non-soul beings, that is the 7 fundamentals, all leads to the weakening of the physical structure only. Then the student asks this question, why are all the activities of the ignorant irreligious? If they are good, they should be called religion. Then Pandit Daulat Ramji again replies, to accept the psychic violence arising out of the feeling of attachments and aversions that rise in the soul, and the material violence, okay? Psychic violence is bhavinsa and material violence is dravya hinsa. We already studied ahimsa last week, okay? And the material violence of killing or causing pain to moving or stationary beings as religion is wrong faith. How can it be? Both are violence only, whether it is psychic violence or material violence. How can be it called a right faith? These are all wrong faiths. Entities having faith in these are unhappy. So all these are unsuccessful, asafal. They will never bring happiness because the main problem is with the faith. So once you have a wrong faith, you cannot experience happiness. So we want to all experience happiness. So we need to get rid of the wrong faith in the first place. So how do we get rid of wrong faith? What is the process? You have to ascertain the facts by reading the scriptures. After reading the scriptures, you have to contemplate on those. And once you contemplate, you arrive at the correct decision. Then your wrong faith gets converted into right faith. That is the process. Whenever this will happen in this way only. What is the remedy of saving oneself from this? We can protect ourselves from adopted wrong faith by understanding the real nature of the God, the scriptures, and the monks. Okay, so it's easy to get rid of the adopted wrong faith. Okay, so the adopted wrong faith goes when we come to the right God, right scripture, and the right monks. So we have all come to the right gods, right scriptures, and right faith. So we have get rid of the adapted wrong faith. So what would be our task now? To get rid of the inherited. Okay. And from inherited wrong faith by true knowledge of the seven fundamental elements. Okay. So that's why I've given you a homework in concept clarity 1, paper 1. Only 7 fundamentals, nothing else. Because once you get rid of the inherited wrong faith, you achieve Samyak Darshan. Because we have already get rid of wrong faith by coming to the right God, right scriptures, and right monks. Now, understanding the removing the errors of the 7 fundamentals and having the right belief in the 7 fundamental elements, we can get rid of the inherited wrong faith also, and thus experience our soul. And from inherited wrong faith by true knowledge, so we can protect ourselves from inherited wrong faith by true knowledge of the essential 7 elements and thus obtaining inner experience of the soul. Then please explain the nature of these some other time. So we'll be reading in detail in this Chadala about this. In Mokshmar Prakashak, we would be reading about this. In Samaysar also, we would be reading about this. All the scriptures leads us to just one purpose: get rid of the delusion. So delusion is the biggest enemy, and the leader of all the karmas is the deluding karma, monia karma. Okay, so to get rid of monia karma, we need to understand the 7 fundamentals very clearly. So those who have not completed the notes on 7 fundamentals concept clarity paper 1, still I would suggest, and those who have already done it, let's revise once more, because that is going to help you every now and then. So every few days, every month, at least you should read those notes on 7 fundamentals. So once your 7 fundamentals are clear, right faith will automatically come. Okay. So we have completed on time. Still 2 minutes left. So anyone having any questions, quick questions, I can answer one. Otherwise, we will close for the day.
Sir, I have a question.
Yes.
Sir, I did not understand the conduct bit at all, but when it comes to The last point of remedy, we said that we have found the right God, the right scriptures, but we have inherited wrong faith. Now, sir, this is from the previous birth, right?
Hmm.
So, sir, let's
So,
assume
so
we were some other.
previous birth you had inherited, right? But when you identify the right God and right scriptures and right monks, the inherited one goes away. Because the job of the inherited wrong faith is to get, not to get you to the right gods, But once we are already into right God, our inherited wrong faith has gone. Because we are not connecting to wrong gods, false God, false scriptures, and false monks. We are not connecting to those right now anymore. We know that there is a temple nearby my place, but it's a Swetambar temple, and they are into now uh, false gods and false scriptures and false monks, So we don't go there. So we have already been saved by identifying the true God, true scriptures, and true monks. We are getting rid of the inherited wrong faith. Now, what is left is the adapted,
Acquired wrong.
Acquired wrong faith.
acquired. We have got rid of acquired. Right. We have.
But how do we inherit wrong faith from the previous birth when we ourselves don't remember our previous births?
When last part what you said, when
When we don't remember our previous birth, how do we inherit wrong
we
faith?
don't, we may not remember, but it is there, no? We may not remember that I was in wrong faith, but our beliefs are like that only, no? So 1 minute, I'll just open up again. What are the exact lines in Hindi? देव शास्त्र गुरु का सच्चा स्वरूप समझकर तो ग्रहित मिथ्यात्व से बचा जा सकता है. Grahit is adapted. Okay. So by knowing the true God, true scriptures, and true monks, we can see of the acquired Grahit. Okay. And by knowing the 7 fundamentals clearly, we can get rid of inherited. Okay. Agrahit. Okay. Agrahit. So, which is already coming from our previous birth. So in previous birth, we had not understood the 7 fundamentals. So it is still continuing, and it is continuing since time eternal. It is not something that we are doing right now. It is coming from our previous birth only. Yeah. Samyak.
So when you spoke about getting rid of wrong faith, like how we should read scriptures and then contemplate about that, like in our everyday lives, like how do you think we should work on applying like what we have contemplated on, and like
Right. So the
without
first
getting lost in like
first
the
part
everyday
would be to identify the true God, true scriptures, and true monks. Right. This is the first part. Now, having done that, this is what is right, and I'm going to study this. Okay. So now, after understanding that right God and right scriptures and right monks, you follow the path shown by them, and that is all given in the scriptures. So by knowing all these facts, you will know the 6 substances, will know the 7 fundamental elements, and you will know about the Nimit Upadan, instrumental cause and principal cause. All these principles will help you to attain the right belief in the 7 fundamentals. Okay. And when you have the right belief about the 7 fundamentals, you know the soul, you know the non-soul elements, you know the influx elements, you know the bondage elements, you know the stoppage of influx element, you know the dissociation of bondage elements, and you know the liberate salvation elements. So when you know these 7 fundamentals very clearly, right, then your by knowing the 7 fundamentals correctly, you can get rid of the inborn wrong faith. That's all. So adapted, whatever we adapted, we settled it by going to the right gods, right scriptures, and right monks, right? And whatever was inborn, that by knowing the 7 fundamentals correctly, that inborn will also go. It could, that inborn was there since time immortal. It is not 2 births, 3 births, but it is since time immortal. But when we understand the correct 7 fundamentals correctly, it goes. So that's all. So simple. You don't have to do any fasting, any 1 month's upfast, or you have to study so many scriptures and then only you will have right faith. No, nothing. Only the 7 fundamentals, basics. That's all. So syllabus is very limited. But to get to know the 7 fundamentals correctly, we have to additionally understand some other concepts also. And that we are going to do in the course of 5 years, we'll be always attempting to get into the 7 fundamentals. From wherever you go, you come to 7 fundamentals and you understand it properly. Not only understand it, you have to take the right decision, and with the right decision comes the right faith. That's all. So your syllabus is very limited, and just you will see that continuing with your family activities, continuing with your job, continuing with whatever other things that you have in your life, you can still spare some time for yourself and understand the scriptures step by step as we go ahead. That's all. So
Thank you.
everything will fall into places and we will have the right faith. Any other questions?